I guess it's probably a good time to talk about this. There was a thing that came out recently. There was a book. There was some book about the Kamala Harris campaign where they talked about her getting on this show. And they said a bunch of things that weren't true. They talked to, supposedly talked to like 150 different people about her and, you know, what happened with her coming on the show. I don't know if it's 150. A lot of people. They didn't talk to us, and which is kind of crazy. And which is like, they didn't even ask. But they said things that just weren't true. One of the things they said that weren't true was that we lied about the day that Trump was coming on. No, we just didn't tell you that Trump was coming on. He was already booked a long time ago. This is how it worked. Trump was really easy to book, like super easy. We offered one day. He said yes. That was it.
Did you get that? Booking Trump was super easy. Gave him the day. He was like, okay, let's do it.
There was no, what are we going to talk about? How long is it going to be? Is it going to be edited? There was nothing. Yeah. What's the waiver? Here, give me that waiver. Sign it. It was so easy.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? Why is it that that Donald Trump could say, yeah, sure, all right, let's talk? It's like what are we going to talk about? Who cares? He's like, yeah, I got nothing to hide. Let's talk. Why do you think he would do that? Why do you think he would sit unscripted to talk with a guy for 3 hours? And it turns out it was like, it was either close to or over, 3 hours. That's because Donald Trump's been doing that the entire campaign. Hey, I point this out to you because Donald Trump did he did an interview with an economist, and there were like 200-300 people in the audience, and they were just talking about, economies, different economies around the world. They were talking about BRICS. He was talking about U.S. currency, how to make the currency more, solvent, or they had a range of really hardcore economic policies. And by the way, right after that interview, Donald Trump went to the Wall Street Journal and did an interview with them, where he just sits down and they're just talking about monetary policies, on stuff abroad, some stuff domestically. How is it that Donald Trump, unscripted, by the way, with no news, no notes, he could just go there and sit there? All right, let's talk. Yeah, you want to talk about tariffs, the pros and cons? You want to talk about monetary funds? You want to talk about BRICS? You want to talk about the ruble? You want to talk anything you want to talk about? Fine. Let's talk about it. You want to talk about me being indicted? Fine. You want to talk about this crazy woman that accused me of, doing something heinous? Sure. Let's talk about it. We'll talk about anything. Why do you think that is? Because there's nothing hidden. That's the beauty of just being the authentic you. That's the beauty that comes with it. It's very freeing. It's very freeing. Now take a listen.
So he was already booked. They never committed to doing the show. So all this talk, there was another thing they said, that the reason why they did the Beyonce thing, the Beyonce event in Houston, was so that they could be in Texas to do my show. They never agreed to do the show. None of that's true. They never agreed. They also said that they sent someone down here to the studio to do a walkthrough of the set. That's not true. The Trump administration did. I mean, if they are trying to say that they, as in the entire federal government, well, I don't think the Trump, well, I guess the Secret Service is a part of the federal government. Maybe you can kind of get away with saying that because the Secret Service came down here for Trump and looked around, that we sent someone down, but it was not. It was the Trump administration sent them down because they're the only ones that had a date to do the show. These people didn't have a date to do. They never agreed to do the show. This is really important. Even after Trump went on, they offered for me to come to D.C. and do a show with Kamala. But even then, it was the same deal. It was only like 45 minutes to an hour. And, it was not on my set. And I said that, look, he did it here. We should probably do it here. Like, if it's possible to do it here. Obviously, when he did it, it had an enormous result. I'm willing to do the same thing for her.
He was willing to do it for her. Why do you think she didn't want to do it? Why do you think she didn't? Why do you think she didn't want to go unscripted on the Joe Rogan Experience? Why do you think that is?
I wanted to release both of them on the same day. This was my goal. I was even trying to figure out if there was a way that I could do it, and I even offered to do it late that night.
Oh, so what he wanted to do was he wanted to tape both, do Trump and Kamala, and then release them both the same day, the same time. Wow, that would have been bonkers. That would have sent the internet in a tizzy. That would have been that's a good idea though.
So the night that Trump came on, I'm like, what if we do her, like when she's done in Texas, if she came here? But no one ever committed to doing it. This is like really important because they keep pretending that I lied or I did this or I did that. They never committed to doing it. Well, we went through, I've got a whole, we have all the receipts, by the way.
Of course.
I have a whole list of conversations that took place. They never said she was going to do it. So this whole idea that we f***ed her over and then we f***ed her over for Trump, incorrect. Just not true.
And she,
but I think it's someone trying to cover their ass for the fact that she never did it, and if she did do it, it might have had a positive effect.
Yeah,
if her and I had a good time and we got along great, and she won over, the air quote young male vote, things could have been different.
It could have.
Hey, she claimed she's really having a tough time, communicating with men. She swore up and down. You gotta get more men. Men doesn't like you. That's because men don't like your entire party. Okay, you emasculate men on the regular. You talk about toxic masculinity. You don't want men in the party, and now you're actually surprised that men don't want to vote for you. Really?
So this guy's probably trying to cover his ass.
That's what I'm thinking too. Is because the reaction to her not coming was like pretty big.
But they didn't commit to doing it. This is the thing. While this guy's saying like that we were difficult to deal with, not true. We were super easy. We made it real clear. But also, it's got to be the actual real show. It shouldn't be some fake version of it where I'm sitting in a conference room. Also, they wanted a stenographer in the room. They wanted staff in the room. Trump was just in here by himself.
Yeah.
Just me, him, and Jamie. That's it. For 3 hours.
Just him, Jamie, I guess his that runs all the media stuff there, and Trump. That's it. Just the three of them. 3 hours. For 3 hours. How does that work out? How do you do that? Why would Donald Trump do that? Why would he even agree to it? He did it in a suit too, by the way. He didn't come in sweatshirts. He did it in a suit. What was going on here? How is it that he can sit there for 3 hours? That's why I'm telling you guys, dude, she's not going to win. She's like, this is what you got to know, and this is what you got to understand. Hold on, let's try to finish this.
Like they wanted to do everything. They wanted it very controlled, and they were really concerned that it wasn't going to be edited. So I don't think they ever really were sure they wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Then once Trump did it, and it had this huge response, I think then it was like, what the f***? What are we doing? He just did it. It's got 50 fucking million views. This is so stupid. Why didn't we do it? And so then there was, even then, when they offered to do it in D.C., my manager asked, is she committed to doing this? If I bring this to Joe, no, she hasn't committed to doing this. Have you brought this to her? Like they wouldn't even say whether or not she had expressed willingness to do it or whether they were trying to convince her to do it. We know for sure there were some people that were supposedly on her staff that were against her doing it. They thought it was because it's a bunch of wokesters. They're basically in a cult. You have a like if you're willing to go on Fox News, you talk to what's that guy's name, Brett Breyer?
Yeah.
Where they cut that off after 20 minutes.
Brett Beer.
When they did that, that's when I was like, look, it's got to be in the studio. It's got to be in the studio, and it's got to be real. It's got to be a real conversation. I had entertained a couple of times going to, but I was like, 45 minutes is just not enough. You and I have been talking an hour and a half already.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just it's not enough time. You need more time. You need more time to find out what makes someone tick.
And that's probably what she was afraid of.
Probably what they were afraid of. Maybe not.
Maybe that's what they were afraid of. That you can find out what makes her tick. So here's the thing. You got to know that the DNC had to run Kamala Harris. And I believe, and this is just my assertion, I have no evidence to corroborate other than the candidates themselves. I think that this was a throwaway candidacy. Okay. And by that, I mean, I think they knew Kamala Harris could never in a million years beat Donald Trump. They knew that. So they just ask yourself, put J.D. Vance and Donald Trump standing next to Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, and then you tell me who looks more presidential. It's not even close. It's not even close. Like, she wasn't presidential timber, like I've said several times. So I think they did it to keep their biggest voting bloc appeased, and that is black women, because black women are loyal to a fault to the Democratic Party. But if they did not run Kamala Harris in the same way that they did with Barack Hussein Obama, then they were going to be in deep doo-doo. And I'm telling you, they didn't want to lose that voting bloc. Imagine if they had lost, 20% of black women. That would have been catastrophic. That's not something you come back from. Because if they feel that they've been betrayed, the very fact that Kamala Harris is not a black woman, that doesn't matter. She's a woman of color. And so that's all you need. And I'm telling you, that's the reason they had to run with him. Look at Tim Walz. Just look at him. Does he look like a president? I mean, he looks ridiculous. His answers were ridiculous. Well, I'm kind of a knucklehead. It's like, dude, you're running to be vice president of the United States. You tell everybody you're a knucklehead? I'm telling you, the Democrats knew they were going to lose. They pissed away $1.5 billion because it had to appear as though they were pulling out all stops, that they're giving them the biggest endorsements. We're giving her the most money. We're going to give her all the delegates. We are going to push her and push her and we're going to push her hard. The Democratic machine was in full swing.